Recently, NBA 2K released the player ratings for 2K25, with Nikola Jokic topping the league with an overall rating of 97. This once again highlights the dominance of this big man in the NBA. In fact, beyond being able to do it all on the court, what sets Jokic apart from many other top stars is his role as the tactical commander on the floor. He can orchestrate the offense and organize plays with precision, even without touching the ball, simply by directing his teammates' movements. In this episode, we'll analyze one of Jokic's in-game directing performances to explore the magic behind his court vision and leadership. This took place during a 2021 NBA regular season game where the Denver Nuggets defeated the Chicago Bulls 131-127 in overtime. The game was tightly contested, and with 25.6 seconds left in overtime, the Nuggets led the Bulls by 2 points, 129-127, and had possession of the ball. Nikola Jokic used several hand signals to demonstrate his on-court command and tactical directing. With the Nuggets in the lead, there was no rush to advance the ball. Before crossing half-court, Jokic raised both hands, signaling to his teammates that they were about to run a pick-and-roll between him and Jamal Murray. Next, Jokic made a second hand gesture, motioning for Will Barton, who was in the left corner, to move to the opposite side. Then, as Jokic moved to the free throw line area and took a quick glance at the defensive setup, he signaled for Michael Porter Jr., who was in the strong side corner, to shift to the weak side. Once Porter moved to the weak side, taking his defender with him, Jokic quickly got into a post-up position. The familiar Jokic-Murray two-man game was set in motion. The play was executed flawlessly as always. Jokic received the pass from Murray, waited for Murray to move alongside him, and then handed the ball back to Murray in a dribble handoff while setting a screen to help Murray get free, and then rolled to the basket. In this play, thanks to Jokic's highly effective screen, Murray found space right off the initial handoff. Meanwhile, the defender guarding Jokic hesitated between trapping Murray and returning to Jokic, and without any proper delay or hedge, Murray took full advantage, opting to attack himself. Murray drove along the baseline and calmly hit a pull-up jumper, extending the Nuggets' lead to 4 points with only 10.3 seconds left for the Bulls. This offensive possession showcased a routine two-man game for the Nuggets, but Jokic's subtle hand signals orchestrated the spacing perfectly, demonstrating the value of a court general who can command the floor with such ease. As a side note, the Nuggets often run a very transparent offense. The opponents know exactly what play is coming, but they still can't stop it. The main reason, of course, is that Jokic is simply too dominant. But it wasn't over yet. Jokic continued to demonstrate his value as a floor general on the defensive end. With the Bulls down by more than 2 possessions and time running out, they called a timeout. To keep the game alive, the Bulls needed a quick three-pointer followed by a foul to have any chance at a comeback. The Bulls' play was straightforward. Their best shooter, Zach LaVine, would start his cut from the weak side corner, using a double screen set by Kobe White and Thaddeus Young at the left elbow to move to the strong side and catch the ball for a quick three-pointer. As soon as Jokic stepped onto the court, he saw through the play and noticed a problem with Campazzo's defensive positioning on LaVine. Initially, Campazzo wasn't positioned to block LaVine's path. Instead, he was standing in a way that practically invited LaVine to receive the ball easily, even without the screens. Jokic, almost visibly frustrated, emphatically waved his right hand to instruct Campazzo to position himself between LaVine and the screens. This adjustment made it more difficult for LaVine to start his cut and extended the time it took for him to get open. Seeing Jokic's directive, the other Nuggets players immediately realized that the play was designed for LaVine to get the ball, so they shifted their focus to denying him the catch. Barton, who was defending the inbound pass, took it to the extreme by abandoning his assignment and positioning himself directly in LaVine's passing lane. LaVine, however, was too crafty with his movement, dodging multiple defenders before finally catching the ball near the logo. Unfortunately for the Bulls, because of Jokic's early warning, LaVine was unable to execute the quick three-point attempt as planned. After the quick three-pointer failed, the Bulls quickly moved to their second offensive option. The inbounder moved to the corner after passing the ball, taking Barton with him and clearing the top of the key for LaVine. The screener, Otto Porter Jr., stepped up to the three-point line to set a pick for LaVine, intending to run a pick-and-pop play. After the screen, whoever got open would take the three-pointer. But with the game in its final moments of overtime, the Nuggets knew the defensive focus would be on the primary scorer, LaVine. This is where the difference in tactical discipline between the Nuggets and Bulls became apparent. Faced with an obvious opportunity to trap, Porter Jr. immediately left OPJ and double-teamed LaVine. Meanwhile, Campazzo, having fought through the screen, desperately used his hands and feet to disrupt LaVine's passing lanes to OPJ. With two defenders closing in, LaVine couldn't pass out of the trap and was forced into a contested shot. After a series of hesitations and pass fakes, LaVine managed to get a difficult shot off under heavy pressure, but it only hit the front of the rim, securing the Nuggets' victory. Looking back, the key to this successful defensive stop was Jokic's ability to read the Bulls' play. He saw the double screen setup and immediately recognized the Bulls' intentions, directing his teammates to adjust accordingly. And with his teammates following his lead, even if they didn't understand the play themselves, they trusted Jokic's direction. As a result, despite Jokic seemingly just camping in the paint without much direct defensive action, he was actually the most crucial element in the Nuggets' defensive success on that play. In fact, sequences like this are very common in Jokic's games, but this was just a relatively simple tactical battle. What makes Jokic truly exceptional is that even in high-level situations, he remains one of the sharpest minds on the court. And sometimes, his teammates don't even need to think too much, they just need to follow his lead. Here's another classic example of Jokic's seemingly prophetic playmaking. This happened during the playoffs in the Disney bubble against the Clippers. In this play, it all started with a typical Jokic-Murray pick-and-roll. As Murray dribbled past half-court, Jokic first signaled for his teammates to move to the corners, clearing out the entire middle area. Then, after observing the Clippers' defensive positioning, he pointed to the ghost screen area, signaling Monty Morris, who was positioned at the left elbow, to move to that spot. Initially, Morris didn't understand what Jokic was asking for before the play started. But as we mentioned earlier, when you're Jokic's teammate, you don't need to be a genius, you just need to follow instructions. So, Morris promptly abandoned his original position and obediently moved to the area Jokic had indicated. Once Jokic saw that his teammate was in position, he immediately set up the pick-and-roll with Murray. Due to Harrell's overextended hedge, Jokic was left wide open. Murray, seeing this, delivered a perfectly timed behind-the-back bounce pass to Jokic, who then dribbled toward the basket. Since the defense had lost track of Jokic during the pick-and-roll, Shamet, who was guarding Morris, was forced to help defend Jokic. Jokic then passed the ball to Morris, who had been waiting in the ghost screen area, for an easy layup. There's another crucial detail here. As Jokic dribbled, he noticed Shamet moving up to defend him, while Leonard, who had been guarding the corner shooter, rotated to help protect the rim. Jokic then used his eyes to mislead Leonard, pretending to look at the corner shooter as if he was going to pass there, but instead, he dished the ball to the open man under the basket. Interestingly, in this tactical exchange, what we saw on the court was Leonard diving toward the shooter in the corner, despite the fact that the ball was clearly going to the basket. This seemingly comical moment was actually the result of high-level basketball intelligence. If Jokic hadn't used his eyes to deceive Leonard, Leonard would have anticipated the pass and potentially disrupted the play. Clearly, in this clash between top-tier defense and elite offense, Jokic came out on top. Now, let's revisit what Jokic did at the beginning of this sequence. The first gesture was easy to understand, but the second one was the real challenge, as positioning a guard in the paint is not a common tactic. At first, even Morris didn't understand why he was being asked to do this, but as the play developed and the shot was made, everything became clear. These two sequences highlight what sets Jokic apart from many other NBA superstars. A fitting analogy is that his game is like a chess match. He's not just a piece on the board, he's also the one moving the pieces. In his games, you'll often see him directing his teammates in ways that initially seem confusing, but as the play unfolds, Jokic's true intentions become clear. This level of strategic thinking is something we typically associate with elite playmakers like LeBron James or Chris Paul. However, in the center position, throughout the NBA's 70-plus-year history, Jokic stands alone with this kind of basketball IQ. He's a trailblazer, and it's hard to imagine anyone following in his footsteps. Jokic also differs from LeBron and Paul in that he functions as a hub for the offense. Due to his position on the court, Jokic takes on a lot more grunt work, such as setting screens, initiating handoffs, and operating as the pivot in offensive sets. A significant portion of his playmaking comes from secondary actions, which is a major distinction. Because of this difference, Jokic's assists require the prerequisite of touching the ball. Put more simply, Jokic is a rare, if not the only tactical commander who can orchestrate the offense without needing to dominate the ball. Other playmakers like LeBron and Paul typically require extensive ball handling time and control. We often talk about how Curry changed the ecology and style of basketball, but Jokic has done the same. He's spearheaded the trend of the all-around modern center. Nowadays, passing ability has become increasingly important for centers who serve as the focal point of an offense. We can see that in the centers entering the NBA after Jokic, playmaking ability has been elevated to a high priority. For instance, last year's Spurs pick Victor Wembanyama and the Maverick center Derek Lively both have above-average passing skills. In the future, we're likely to see more and more big men with this skill set. So, what do you think, viewers? Do you believe we'll ever see a second Jokic?